Welcome to Through Your Looking Glass, a podcast that explores the world of research technology. Combining speed and insights, ResTech reflects a deeper knowledge of the people around us. We're leading the conversation about this complex industry, which spans from traditional market research to advertising, media measurement, and beyond. Join us as we chat with experts and enthusiasts in the ResTech community and learn more about its evolution, application, and ever-growing potential.
Welcome back, everyone, to Through Your Looking Glass. It's been far too long, so I'm glad you're back with us. My name is Patrick Comer, the founder and CEO of Lucid. And today we have a special program for you because we have our partner at the Trade Desk and Lucid coming together to talk about the collision and the excitement of how ad tech and res tech can create a new product, a new opportunity for our customers. So with that, we have a special guest, Brenda Tuohig, who is the Senior Vice President of Global Data Partnerships at the Trade Desk. Welcome, Brenda, to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
I'm excited you're here as well. And we have our friend, also Kumar Doshi, the Senior Vice President of Marketing at my favorite company, Lucid, as well.
Thanks for having me, Patrick. It's great to be on here.
Well, what's fun about this conversation today is that recently our two companies announced a partnership where the Trade Desk is providing the Lucid measurement platform to its customers. And what's compelling about that is it's a true partnership between an ad tech and a res tech company, really showing the power of that cooperation. And at our core, both of these companies are really empowering customers to really answer their questions. And what's especially exciting for me is that at the fundamental impetus of how we created Lucid was inspiration from the evolution of ad tech. Really how programmatic was impacting the advertising industry and transforming and improving the way advertisers and publishers can work together. We saw that same vision for market research, and now we're at the core marketplace and exchange for the market research industry. Now we're working together to further improve advertising and media measurement in so many ways. So that's the context and clues for this special episode. But first, let's move the window to Brenda and really talk about a little bit about your background, but also for those who are less familiar with advertising, a little bit about Trade Desk.
Absolutely. And again, thanks for having me. Excited to share. So Trade Desk is, we talk about ourselves as a demand side platform. We're the largest global independent ad blind platform in the world. And I'm sure we'll be getting into a lot more of what that means, but essentially, our main customers are the world's largest advertisers and agencies, and we help facilitate their ad spend in the open internet. And in response to how I got here, so the journey has been longer than I want to share in terms of years, but prior to the Trade Desk, I was at Datalogics, which was a company where I first started working in marketing data over 15 years ago. So I will give you that clue. And in that role, we really helped forge the ecosystem around leveraging data for targeting and measurement. And I ran our consumer packaged goods practice at Datalogics, where we helped brands and retailers advertise through targeted media and measure the impact of their ad spend. We were acquired by Oracle, where I stayed on for a while and I helped run the global agency partnerships team at Oracle. And that eventually led me to Trade Desk, where I now currently run our global data partnerships team here at the Trade Desk, where I oversee all aspects of our data partner ecosystem, which is comprised of over 200 partners worldwide, Lucid being a key ingredient to that partner ecosystem. And we're really excited to talk today about what that means to us on the platform.
Well, it sounds like you've been at the forefront of how data is transforming the advertising industry for a few years now.
That sounds right.
And you've probably seen that evolution, some of the twists and turns over the past couple of years.
Yeah, just a few twists and turns along the way. So it's never been dull, I can say that much. And it's really an exciting time now with a lot of transformation that's been happening in the industry.
Yeah, I think that data and identity have never been more important in the ecosystem.
That's right. Absolutely. And privacy as part of that.
That's right. Now, Kumar, you've also had a long and storied career pre-Lucid, so I'd love to hear your current rundown on what does Lucid do, but also a little bit about your background as well.
Yeah, you're right, Patrick. It's been a journey, and I think I'm closer to 20 years in. I fell in love with marketing and strategy before business school, in my time at Intel. After business school, I did a job at Microsoft, and I was looking for my next after that. And it's in those conversations, which I met with like over 200 people within Microsoft. When I got to the last 50, they're all pointing me into this one direction, which was a very small team led by Gail Troberman, who's now the CMO of iHeartRadio. But she was basically doing crazy things on the internet, and while digital advertising was forming. So I got the opportunity to be a part of that team, really learn about digital advertising, and it kind of solidified my love for advertising, specifically working with agencies, both creative media agencies. And so I did that for a while, and then I went over to Rocket Fuel, which is an AI-powered DSP, which Brenda, you may be familiar with.
Yep.
And after that, and the person I met there, Lindsay Fordham, she and I got a coffee. She told me a little bit about Lucid. And my first reaction was, market research agency, Lindsay? I don't know about that. And she said these words. She's like, dig a little deeper. I was like, okay. So I went away and I realized what you, Patrick, and the company were up to was pretty impressive. The power to ask a question and have that the answer it can help transform businesses. And we're seeing the first iteration of that with our work with the trade desk and our impact on media measurement.
Yeah, it's thrilling to see this partnership grow and blossom. But Brenda, there's something that you said I want to key on. You said the open internet. And that seems to be an important part of the overall trade desk story, this concept of openness and open internet. And when I hear that, I also recognize at Lucid, one of our core values is transparency or openness. And it feels like we have a core value connection between that concept. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about how you view openness and transparency at the trade desk and see how we can correlate to the values of Lucid.
Yeah, absolutely. You picked up on a key tenet of the values that underpin the trade desk for sure. And so everything that we stand for is about enabling advertisers to buy their media most effectively and efficiently across what we term the open internet. And we do that by providing tremendous scale across the ecosystem of publishers, connecting that content to data and decisioning and helping our advertisers understand the efficacy of their ads on our platform. And so that's really at the core of what we do. The openness and objectivity is also paired with transparency. And so when we talk about independence, one of the key things underpinning the trade desk relative to a walled garden, for example, is we don't own any of the media. So we truly are taking the interests of the buy, what we call the buy side, which is the advertiser and agency side, as our number one priority, and not trying to favor our own media in that instance. And similarly, and where this relates to what we're doing together, and especially in the world that I live in every day around our data partner ecosystem, is we truly believe in powering a marketplace of data and of measurement, and really want to provide to our advertisers the freedom for them to choose the data that they want to use for measurement. And in this case with Lucid, we're really seeing tremendous lean in around providing that independent third-party measurement, as opposed to what some walled gardens might provide, which is their own proprietary kind of behind the wall, so to speak, version of measurement, which isn't always as transparent. The other thing, just for your listeners, I wanted to share was just the scale, because Trade Desk, unlike some of the walled gardens, isn't a consumer brand. So may not realize that the scale of what we see is unparalleled in the ecosystem. We see on average, this is a hard number to get your head wrapped around, but it's 13 million ad impressions every second. And we serve ads in over 100 countries. So the footprint is tremendous. And we're so excited to have a partnership with you who are global and can help our clients, our mutual clients, understand objectively how those ads are delivering performance for them.
What I heard was, one, we have to make sure that the fox isn't guarding the hen house in
Correct.
terms of media measurement. Because how do we trust the data if it's coming in internally? Right? Having a third-party independent view of measurement sounds really important to your customers. What I'm also hearing is the value of their ability to use their own data as they see fit. And then the other thing I really heard was that you don't own any of the space. You're not the publisher. And so your full focus is on the buyers, the agencies, the brands' needs versus some arbitrage game between the publisher and the buyer, because you don't actually own any of the space that you're essentially representing through your marketplace.
That's absolutely correct. You nailed it.
Oh man, we're so aligned. I'd love to tell you why, Brenda, but I feel Kumar chomping at the bit to get in there.
Well, yeah, I mean, Lucid has a similar marketplace, and I just want to go back on one of the points that you raised, Brenda. Like, as a marketer, we've all had that moment when you're looking at a report from one of the walled gardens and you're saying, so wait, you're grading this paper. So, I guess, all right, I will take the data for what you say it is. But yeah, I mean, in a similar fashion, Lucid's building a marketplace, and we are the place where suppliers and buyers transact, but we don't have a holistic or investment in either the buyer or supplier. We just want them to transact in a fair marketplace where they can expect supply demand forces to take place, where they can expect the best price and the best data to come out of that marketplace.
Yeah, that's right, Kumar. And I keep thinking about for Lucid, transparency is also providing where in our world the surveys are being run, meaning which partners on the publisher side are actually being included at any given time and vice versa. And I'm wondering if that's the same at the trade desk. If you're a demand side buyer, you have full visibility into where all your ads are being placed and which partners and et cetera they're being worked with.
That's correct. Yeah, we provide that transparency. It's just a key tenet of why we have such great adoption among the ad ecosystem, is to just truly understand what where they're buying, what data is being applied, how they're getting charged, and how it's performing.
That's great.
You're seeing this trend also. Like, I think there's an element of control in there that both of the platforms allow for, right? The buyer is in control, the supplier is in control of their own destiny in the marketplace, which is an interesting kind of path to go down versus other business models.
Another key word that I clued in on was scale. Because the first thing when you said 13 million per second that's a lot of impressions per second. But then you also rolled in with 100 markets. And I think that aligns very closely to the same 100 markets that Lucid rolls in, I'm guessing, given how GDP rolls out globally, which means that we can both support our customers' global scale as they need to run advertising, but also they need to measure that advertisement on a global basis.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of our clients are global. So the global holding company agencies, the global brands, and then we also have a lot of in-market local advertisers as well that use the platform. And so it's nice to be able to offer for both a consistent measurement across the globe. And that's really one of the great things about your solution here at Lucid.
I agree, but let's talk a little bit about the process, how we got here, a little tangentially, but the need for media measurement is fairly strong within advertising buyers. Mm-hmm. They're looking for a solution that is going to provide them everything from brand lift to what the consumers that they're looking at or hearing from, how they're being exposed, and how they're reacting to the ads themselves. And from what I understand, Trade Desk has been looking for the right solution along those lines for quite some time.
Yeah, I think if we take a big step back, well, even in my career, I've been helping advertisers understand the effectiveness of media. And really, that's how we've been able to prove the effectiveness of digital. And now, with really scaling and emerging, and maybe not so emerging anymore, channels that are growing like crazy, like mobile and audio and connected TV, it's just important to build confidence with the advertisers and the agencies that those ads types and those channels work for them. And so measurement, I truly believe, is the center point for really helping the agencies and the advertisers feel confident placing their budgets in new ways and trying new tactics and new strategies. And that's never been more important than what we've seen in this last 18 months, which is just, I think the most overused word has been unprecedented, but truly, I think with the challenges and the agility that's been requested of marketers and consumers and the platforms that support them, has just required that we're really all being very thoughtful together about helping ensure that those ad dollars are seeing the best possible ROI. And so when we look to support an independent third-party marketplace, we're looking to make sure that we're powering the types of measurement that our advertisers are asking for. Brand lift is a key component of that, but we really help measure across the full funnel of measurement. And so that's awareness, consideration, conversion. And so we provide solutions that really meet the needs of our advertisers globally across that full spectrum.
100%. It has been unprecedented, and you're right. The number of things that our customers are mutually asking us to try, attempt, and support as platforms has never been larger or more interesting or more challenging than it has been since the beginning of this COVID pandemic. And measurement seems to be very important to give them that trust. Now, I think for me, that goes back to openness. It helps build the trust that our customers and our partners believe and can invest in their work with us.
Absolutely. And trust is such a key ingredient. And really trust is we're doing our clients a favor by helping them build trust within their walls. And if they're the agency to their clients, right, around what strategies they're deploying, and helping them also just really understand how to adjust and optimize their campaigns to be delivering the best efficiency for their spend.
So measurement's been an important part, or it's part of the story in terms of the advertising industry for a long time. You've seen it for forever. What was it necessarily about the Lucid capabilities, that Lucid solution, that really drove Trade Desk to say this is the path we want to go down and invest with?
Yeah, I would say, so we talked about a couple. I think our aligned philosophies around openness and transparency, for sure, creating a marketplace, scale, and being able to conduct this type of study around the globe and at scale and at the volume that we see is important. And then also just the flexibility and nimbleness. So most recently, we've integrated your tech directly into our platform, making it very seamless for our advertisers to set up surveys and see results right in the platform, so that they can really adjust and optimize their campaigns right all within the platform. And so really having us together lean in as partners to make it as seamless as possible. I'd love to hear from your side if it's been as seamless on your end, but that's that's our perception for sure.
Hey, Kumar, what do you think about that?
My understanding of it is I think it was a 6-week dev period, which is pretty good considering you're doing an API integration. So hats off to the two teams that were working on it. I think the other thing is when you have a true marketplace, it becomes efficient. So we talked a little bit about scale, but it also allows for speed. again, as a marketer, speed was important in the early days of the pandemic. We needed information quickly across the marketing funnel, but also speed gets you quality. A true marketplace, because it is open, because it is efficient, you get quality data, and that speaks to the trust points that you both were saying.
So where do we see media measurement going? We've talked about the funnel. There are probably various aspects of the funnel that need proper measurement. But I'm also thinking about that concept of outcome focus. I get the sense that more and more of the work that you're doing at Trade Desk is trying to provide insights on outcomes for customers. In particular, I know there's a lot of interest around CTV. So I'm wondering how you're thinking about the development of media measurement in that context.
Absolutely. So CTV is a key priority focus area for us, as we're really seeing a lot of spend shift to a more programmatic way of buying. And I think we're seeing the entire ecosystem lean into the ability to buy more intelligently through a programmatic lens. But also, and importantly, everyone's recognizing the cord cutters, and my favorite are the cord nevers.
Right.
So we are seeing those numbers just are starting to eclipse now the cable subscribers. I think for the first time, we've seen the numbers of, in the US, 87 million households are CTV households, and that's surpassed now the cable subscribers. And so
That's a big moment right there.
Yeah, it is a really big moment. And so CTV is here to stay, and it's probably here to dominate, frankly, if we all just look at our own behavior at home and how, the pandemic certainly helped accelerate that trend. And TV historically has been limited in the type of measurement that's been available, and measurement has been a fairly blunt instrument tied to what's very tried and true, GRPs. But what is now available in CTV in a platform like ours is to really apply a lot more data to decisioning and to measurement. And so what we're seeing our clients really lean into and appreciate in the CTV channel is the ability to target better, the ability to control for reach and frequency. And I think we can all, even in our own experiences, appreciate getting hit over the head with the same ad over and over is actually a degradation to the brand versus actually helping the brand. So our solutions help control for that. And then importantly, measurement. And so certainly brand lift studies, such as the ones that you provide, are extremely important in this channel, because in CTV, we see much more of the upper funnel brand driving type of measurement, and that aligns extremely well with Lucid type of surveys and brand lift.
Well, I see our common vision for the future on CTV, and I must tell you, I knew we were at an eclipse moment when my parents told me this summer that they were not getting cable because they were out of their summer house. They had to turn back on Wi-Fi and their phone, but they said, we're not getting cable. And I said, well, what are you doing about Netflix? And then they were like, oh, well, we have Wi-Fi. And I had to walk them down how to sign up for Hulu so they could get their local TV channel. But it wasn't even on their radar of, oh, I have to have, local news or any of the typical cable channels. All they really wanted was Netflix. And then I realized we're at a tipping point. So I'm not at all surprised they're giving us the data that at this point, the CTV subscription numbers, those subs are now higher than the cable. That's a big moment in terms of how advertisers view the value of each of those platforms, but also how media and advertising consumed by everyone in their households, right? Amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting time, and it is transformational at the same time. So yeah, I think
100%.
everyone's catching up to the moment, if you will, in terms of how to rethink GRPs. What else should we be thinking about as we? Yeah.
I think all those things are up for grabs on some level because there's such a transformational change happening within how TV is consumed and advertised to. Now, Kumar, I know we have a lot of product development and focus on aligning our product and our capabilities with the upper funnel CTV capabilities. What's the status there?
Yeah, I mean, the one liner on this is, why would you take GRPs when you have household IP addresses? And so when a platform has household IP addresses, you can get down to real measurement, and our platforms do. And I think that's where you're going to see the innovation continue to develop. Ever since I saw the first kind of measurement of my digital experience, whether it be an ad or a branded experience, when I participated in it, ever since then, one thing's held true, which is wherever consumers go, wherever the eyeballs go, is where the innovation will continue to happen. And so I think you're seeing it with household IP addresses, and that's just scratching the surface in terms of product development and product innovation ecosystem.
So where is all this going? We have measurement evolving. We also have identity evolving. So I'm really curious, Brenda, from your perspective, what do you see on the horizon for Trade Desk in the next couple of quarters?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because I'd love to talk about some of our new shiny objects coming
I
off
like shiny objects.
off the production line. So we recently launched our new platform, a new trading platform, and we branded it Solimar, which in Spanish means where the sun and sea. So it's where the sun meets the sea. And the reason for that is because that's on the horizon, and that's where we believe the industry is going. And with so much change that we've been talking about here, we believe now is the time to seize that moment and really reinvent what we're doing collectively. And we want to help enable that for our clients. So the Solimar platform is really the next generation of buying ads in the open internet and our facilitation of that. And some of the key elements of Solimar that we're really proud to bring to the market and to help our clients transact better is around a few key tenets that I'm sure you'll recognize as important. So first-party data has become increasingly valuable and important, and we talk a lot about it with our clients as their key, their golden asset. And so Solimar enables much easier onboarding or ingesting of their first-party data for their own use. Solimar also is centered around this notion of buying your ads based on goals. So setting your goals up front to say, what are you trying to achieve in this campaign? Is it a direct response campaign, conversions? Is it brand? Is it viewability? What are the kinds of things? Is it in-store sales? What are the things you're trying to achieve? So we really start first in the conversation in the Solimar dashboard, trying to capture what the goal of the campaign is. And then importantly, to know whether you achieve that goal, of course, is measurement. And so really helping to provide what we believe is the best in class, most advanced measurement marketplace available in the ecosystem. And we've been talking a lot about that today, all under what we think is a pretty slick new UI that we're really excited to showcase. So that's Solimar. The other piece that has been a very big focus area for the Trade Desk this past year is around identity. Let me know if you want me to hit on that right now.
Oh, come on. Identity is so important. I want to hear all about your views on this.
Yeah, so we've helped spearhead what's been called Unified ID 2.0. So let me take a little bit of a step back before I go into defining what that is. So the value exchange of the open internet, again, is not going anywhere, which is essentially free content to consumers in exchange for what's hopefully relevant advertising. The value exchange is staying. However, we've never done a really good job as an industry explaining that value exchange to customers and consumers. And so that's really all coming to a head with privacy regulation and also partly related to the cookie deprecation that's looming on the horizon. And so Trade Desk is really one of the key anchors of the open internet, wanted to protect that value exchange and make sure that that great content can always be made available for free to consumers through relevant advertising. So we helped spearhead Unified ID 2.0. Now, it's important to say that we helped build the tech and have been championing it, but it's not actually a Trade Desk owned product. It's open sourced, it's governed by a third-party independent body, and it's adopted and interoperable ecosystem-wide. And what it is essentially is an identity framework that is industry-wide and at its core, what it does is it provides a common currency on how to encrypt and hash email that everyone can transact and understand. And it's really an upgrade to the cookie. And we're really excited about it. We've seen tremendous adoption. And the reason we believe it's an upgrade to the cookie is, first and foremost, it puts controls in the hands of the consumer, which is extremely important. So consumers can go to a portal, determine their own privacy settings around unified ID. Also, another thing that it does that cookies weren't doing is it cuts across channels. So ads can now be served against UID2 in mobile and connected TV, whereas cookies were not able to cut across channels. And then maybe the most important is it's highly secure with the encryption and the hashing of the personally identifiable information. So all that being said, that's been a really big initiative the Trade Desk has helped sponsor. And we're just really excited by the industry adoption of that new currency.
Well, I could not be more excited to talk about how important identity is, not only in the advertising space, obviously with cookieless deprecation and all the other regulatory and privacy concerns, which are obviously valid and growing, in order to really talk about that value exchange, how consumers can recognize the value of advertising in our life and have their concerns about privacy and control be assuaged by that. And what I love is how much focus Lucid has on identity as well. I'm wondering where we are in terms of partnering, supporting, getting involved with UID2, because it seems like an important part of the overall context here. But Kumar, what do you think the framing is for first-party data and identity as a Lucid? How do we view that?
Yeah, so Brenda, you said something interesting. Like, we've never really explained the value exchange. We've never even really explained what a cookie is.
Right.
Like, I love to see the number of times that's been searched.
Like, what is a cookie?
What is a cookie, right? So, I think you asked about the future of measurement, and some of the tenets. I agree with Brenda in terms of some of the tenets, right? They've been around for a long time. We just need to pay more attention to them. And what I mean by that is, in the early days of the internet and digital advertising, the amount of ad space was in greater supply than the number of eyeballs that were looking at it. Now we're at a much different point, right? 20 years, 25 years later, we're at a much different point where now there's a higher bar for us to meet. And so, yeah, we do need to do the value exchange definition. We need to hold true to that. It's not just important that I see an ad. It's important that I see it at the right time in my purchase cycle. It's also important that we put consumers first, mainly because they've always been in control. It's just we just need to recognize that they are in control, and they have certain expectations that we need to meet. And I think our brand measurement and media measurements gotta do those two things, but then also continue to innovate, right? So I think this is where the role of first-party data becomes very important. And you're seeing that shift in kind of power. The first-party data and the people that have that are able to use that more because of the first two things: value exchange and respecting people's expectations. So first-party data becomes increasingly important, and I think Lucid's got a good position on it, if I were to say that. The reason is a lot of our information that we get from our respondents is ethically sourced, meaning you make a decision to actually engage in order to answer that question. And so I think it holds to those value exchange tenets and also the consumer first tenet.
With that, Kumar, on the ethically sourced sample, I've completely lost my train of thought due to my youngest daughter. So I'm going to pause for a second to dive back into, God, it's hard to get back into zone when your daughter asks you a tow truck question, right?
That's all good. Take your time.
Kumar, would you do me a favor and summarize where you were heading so I can get back in the throw of it?
Yeah, I was just the future of measurement on the internet. I was agreeing with a couple of points that Brenda had made.
I got it. I'm back in. Now I know where I was. We gave Brenda the opportunity to talk about the future. Kumar, let's think about Lucid and where we're heading. Anything you want to add to how products and the features are being released at Lucid and what we're excited about?
Yeah, I mean, where we're headed is making the ability and the power of asking a question available to more people and in more situations. So taking how we're mainly focused on market research right now, we've extended that to the advertising industry. What's next? And I think that is the kind of the big question for Lucid to go answer is how can you take this power to ask a question and apply it to more industries?
Yeah, we see a huge opportunity because human curiosity is unfathomable, that more and more people want to ask and answer more and more questions every day. And so fundamentally, at Lucid's core is our ability to provide that global scale to everyone on the planet. So getting a question answered becomes easy, efficient, and all the barriers and all the friction that exist can be removed, which personally excites me. Well, with that, we've gone through a lot of different topics, but I want to make sure we hit on my favorite three, the last questions of the day, which are rapid fire questions. And these are the ones that have nothing. Yeah, but they're the same three every time. So if you did your homework, you would know ahead of time. But these are the same three questions I ask of every guest to really bring in the human element versus just the business side. So I'll flip-flop back and forth who gets one first, but I'll start with you, Brenda. What was the first job that you ever had?
So I think it's pretty unique in the sense that not many people have done this. I worked for a company that was in the business of trading uranium, and I was a business analyst.
That is so cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I never, and the first question most people ask is, did you ever touch uranium? And I never did. There was someone who had a little jar of it on their desk, but they assured me it was not radioactive. So.
It was properly enclosed. What is the unit of measure of uranium? What's it sold in?
Pounds.
Pounds of uranium. There it is. The weight of uranium as it's transacted.
And to just be super clear, this was not weapons grade. This was for power.
The power based. Okay.
Yeah.
I was hoping it was both, right?
No.
No. Kumar, same question. What was your first job?
Mine's gonna pale in comparison, but a side note, I was obsessed for about 2 years in my teenage years with nuclear power. And so I know a little bit about uranium. I wish I had that job is the other thing I'm trying to say. My first job was doing a paper route with one of my best friends. On another podcast, I noticed that you mentioned or asked, what is the first job that you got a paycheck from?
Paid for. What could people ask? Is it the first job that I would put on a resume or the first time I got paid for work, right? So.
Yeah, my best friend paid me in ice cream, so I don't know if that really counts.
I think it does count. Paid in ice cream may work.
There you go. The other one that I actually got a physical paycheck for was working at a batting cage.
At a batting cage?
That's right. Yeah.
What does one do at a batting cage exactly?
Before it was all automated, you had to have that person with a helmet on that got all the balls that fell into the pit and then reloaded the machine so that other people can bat.
That's a lot of balls. Well, back at you for the second question, Kumar. Thinking about feedback and some of the advice or feedback we get in our professional career, what's the hardest or greatest piece of feedback that you've ever received?
Yeah, and I'm gonna go with it was to keep me out of a career, so I think it technically counts. I went into undergrad as a physics poli-sci major. Dr. Wolfenstein was a professor for an elective course you have to take freshman year. And he asked me to stay after class. This class was where we did presentations, and I had like the entire class like, jumping up and down and cheering like as part of the presentation. And he sat there in the back, beard, I think he was like 5'6", and he's like, "See me after class." Just very direct. In that conversation, he helped me really understand that while physics is a passion of mine, it may not be a career of mine.
Hmm.
And so I spent plenty of days under a tree on campus, thinking through our discussion, and years later reflecting back on it. And it was a pretty pivotal moment for me in terms of the direction I took with my career.
That's a great story. All right, Brenda, how do you answer the same question? This bit of feedback, especially hard feedback, the one that kind of rocks you a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. At Datalogix, we were big on the 360-degree feedback, which is so valuable, but so hard, so hard to take.
Terribly great, right? 360 feedback is the best of the
Yeah.
worst.
And so what I found was that the people on my direct team really rated me highly, and the people outside of my direct team was a little bit more mixed. And so I had to really unpack that. And so the takeaways from that and the feedback on that led to an insight, and the insight that I try and take on board every day, which is really explaining the why behind the what you're trying to get done at your job. And so the more you can really help evangelize that vision, and importantly also write it down so you can talk, people retain about, I don't know what the statistic is, but it's only a small percentage of what you say. Follow it up in writing to help people really get on board with what it is you're trying to do in your team or your day-to-day that's so important to you may not be landing as well. And so it's a lot easier when people can get behind the why versus just the what. And so I try and embrace that every day. So maybe not quite as philosophical, Kumar, as yours, but it definitely has guided me a lot over the last few years.
Well, it's so important. I got to tell you right now at Lucid, this is one of our fundamental challenges is realizing that it may be great that you can articulate the vision or even articulate the next step. But if you can't document it in a way that can scale with the organization, you may not have done that much. You may have espoused beautifully for a moment, but then that moment is gone and then nothing happens.
Yeah.
And so, as you go from a small company to a larger company, how you communicate vision is less about the moment and more about, as awesome as it sounds, the documentation of it.
Yeah, exactly. Not always our favorite part, but very important in the long run.
It's definitely something I'm still learning about, Brenda. I probably still need that same 360 feedback myself.
I think we all could benefit from it. It's just like definitely swallowing a bitter pill every time you have to do it. Yeah.
Amen. Amen to that. Well, the final question is, what did your mother teach you? What's the one lesson that you always take away from your mother? And Brenda, we'll start with you on this one.
There's so many, but I would say in this context especially, it maybe explains where I am today and my career sitting in the seat, is she drilled in me from a little girl, like, be self-sufficient and don't rely on anyone else to take care of you. And that has just really driven me my whole life to take charge of, my future. And I have 2 daughters, and I'm hoping to impart that on them. And I think it's just really important that, that you really take charge of your future and hopefully have fun doing it along the way.
That's great. And you mentioned that you said today you're embodying this. So is there a particular thing about what you're doing right now that really resonates with this concept?
I mean, I just think, so I'm a mom and I have 2 daughters and I work full time and I'm on Zoom calls morning till night. And so, it's like, it takes some strength, I think, to get up every day and do a big job. And especially, we all juggle different aspects of our lives at home as well. But yeah, it's ever present, honestly. Every day it's a choice to show up and do your job, I think.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that last bit too. It is a struggle, constant Zoom calls. And as we've seen, my own daughter comes to visit and talks about the toe man.
That's right.
Kumar, you as well. How do you represent your mother in terms of lessons learned? What do you take away?
Moms teach so many lessons. I think for me, you have to understand my mom and probably my parents in order to understand the lessons that they imparted on me. super humble beginnings. My mom and her family lived in a probably 200 square foot room in Calcutta in the 60s, 70s, right? Same with my dad, very large family. He was not in Calcutta, he was 4 hours outside of it. Came over to the US with literally nothing besides 2 suitcases and 2 kids. And so I think one of the things I've really learned from them is hard work is super important in order to achieve your dreams. Second thing is really around, treating people and the world and the earth around us in a good way. Integrity is much more important than things. Is even part of the economy. The way you make a person feel is what I can remember. And then finally, try to leave a place better than you found. I think I've tried to use that motto, whether it be in relationships or in the work environment, but just leave it better than I found it.
Kumar, thank you for always making what we do sound better. Right. It's one of the things that I don't have is that marketing bug. And so I rely on you, but also your extended team on elevating the story and elevating what we do here at Lucid. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And thanks for the kind words on my team. They're pretty incredible.
Be sure to subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcasts. For information on ResTech, our complete list of episodes, and more, visit luc.id/lookingglass.